Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back. I see some names in the chat I've already seen in the last sessions. So nice to have you back on the international track. For all of you who don't know me, I'm Anna Hanschu. I'm the curator and the host of the international track, which basically means the luxury having very interesting persons in all these conversations, just like today, Manon Saralitek and Veronica Garcia. Wait a second, Garcia at, how do I pronounce it correctly?
Arteaga.
Oh, wow. Okay. No, I never get there.
Garcia, it's okay.
I don't even try it. So welcome to this session where we have a female venture capitalist into food tech and also into green tech, and a female scientist, basically joined forces for a company which we will learn more about. So let me introduce Manon and Veronica. Manon Litek is one of Europe's pioneering investors in plant-based food alternatives and a well-known front-runner in the food tech ecosystems. She serves as a board member at Upfield, the world's largest plant-based company, and is founding partner of the Green Generation Fund, which was recently launched. And the venture capital company which Manon launched is within the whole consumer impact space, and focuses on early stage sustainable food tech and green tech companies in Europe and the US. For all who think now, wait a second, I know Manon. Yes, you know her. This is correctly. This is correct. She was here already with us last year in her former role, and now she is here in her new role with her newly launched fund. So happy to have her again. Veronica is the co-founder, CTO, and head of R&D of Weg. How do I pronounce that one?
Yeah, Weg.
Yeah, Weg. It's that simple. Okay, that's good news. It's also a recently founded startup introducing a vegan egg, which she developed during her time at the Fraunhofer Institute in Munich. She is also a PhD candidate at the Fraunhofer Institute for Process Engineering and Packaging at the Technical University of Munich, where she also obtained a master's degree in nutrition and biomedicine. Plus, she holds a bachelor in food engineering and also worked at Pepsi before her started her academic career. I think this is the right order. Okay, perfect. So welcome, Veronica and Manon. Happy to have you with us. For the audience, please just put in your questions in the chat. I will have a look at it. I will try to multitask as much as possible because I have a double role today. I will admit people who are waiting in the waiting room and also be your host. Just put the questions in the chat and I will take it from there and will ask questions. All right. Then how we do this session, we have basically two presentations and we have, of course, the space for questions. Manon will kick it off with her presentation, and later on we have Veronica sharing the story of Weg as being one of the first portfolio companies of Green Generation Fund from Manon. Manon, the stage is yours. Would you like to share your presentation?
Yes, I started. Okay, great. Yeah, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for having me. I will start with telling you a little bit about the Green Generation Fund, our investment thesis, and why we believe there's space now for a new fund. So we believe that at the moment we really live in a very interesting time. I think this decade will define and decide if we will succeed as humankind actually on this planet and survive over the next centuries. And there will be a huge shift to sustainability necessary. And this is exactly where we will invest in. I think there's never been a better time for that. So, and we are consumer impact fund. What does it mean? The largest markets in the world is actually household consumption with 52 trillion and also food with 12 trillion, which is kind of somehow also part of household consumption, but also if you look at it, its entirety with agriculture, technology and so on, it's also a market on its own. But the point is both is huge and much larger than clean energy and also industry. Interestingly, that's also where the biggest opportunity for investing is, and where it's also the biggest need for investing. So sustainable consumption just comes directly after efficient energy. Why is that? It is because the way how we consume is basically broken and destroying the planet. And I think you can see it for three main points. The first one is we are rising to 10 billion people in the next 20 years, and we don't have enough resources to continue the way we are consuming at the moment. A good example for it is mass animal consumption, which is really responsible for a lot of water and land resources that is used up. And if we just continue meat eating as we do at the moment, we will not have enough of both of the resources. It's also responsible for a lot of CO2 emissions. Just household consumption in its entirety is 72%. So it's a huge bucket. I think the second point is health. If we continue eating how we do it at the moment, so malnutrition is responsible for a lot of problems like diabetes and so on. And then thirdly, we have the whole topic of destroying the planet actively with our way of consumption. You see it in plastic pollution and loss on biodiversity as examples. So how do you come from this to business opportunities? You have to find solutions. You have to be very innovative. And I think it's at the moment the biggest market opportunity. And I like to refer quite a lot to Kara Swisher, who's one of the most prominent journalists and especially in tech. And she said the world's first trillionaire will be a green tech entrepreneur. So I think times are shifting. It's not anymore what 10, 15 years ago was tech. It's green tech and finding sustainable solutions. So how do we approach the market? When we broke it down to a little bit more practical approach at the end, I come in the next page a bit to our categories, but we look beginning of the value chain, so the consumer goods in itself, and then also along the value chain from packaging, processing, etc. But one of our main points is really investing into consumer goods. Why do we think that this is the right time now at the moment, and this is the biggest market opportunity? First of all, you have a rise of challenger brands. The next generation, Generation Y and Millennials and Gen Z are pushing for new brands that are transparent, that are sustainable and ethical. Big brands as Nestle and so on don't have anymore the authenticity and the respect of the consumer. So there's a big opportunity there. Secondly, of course, digital transformation is speeding up the process. You have the D2C models. You don't have to go to the brick and mortar retailers at the end, yes, but you can start quite quickly in another way. You have social media pushing up brands and a lot of influencer marketing possibilities and so on, bringing transparency also to products and speeding it up. The third point is, and which is really at the heart of our investment thesis, is post-animal consumption. And that's one topic in food tech, but also if you look in consumption in general, because of the great impact it has. And I think plant-based is becoming mainstream. So we see an upgrade on ingredients. I mean, it started with tofu and seitan in the 90s, then you had Beyond Meat with a lot of additives and so on. And now it's getting cleaner. You have an ingredient update through new technologies, precision fermentation and so on. But also you use more pea protein, regional protein topics. And that brings also the cost point down and opens it up for the mass market. So I think the timing there is really now. Then it's a market where you have exit opportunities because you have the big FMCG players who need to innovate, and they have huge problems because if the larger the corporation is, the more difficult is it really to bring new innovative concepts and also spin them out politically, but also they interestingly invest a very small percentage into innovations, and rather they try to acquire because they know they don't have the environment and also the image to come up with really good solution. And the last bucket is, and I think that's interesting for today, especially, there's a lot of technology opportunities at the moment, a lot of science and R&D from universities, especially in Europe, that come up with new solutions. And we see that as a huge opportunity in that field to enable more science-driven startups in this field to really disrupt the market. The three categories we are focusing on are the first one, food tech, because we believe that it has the largest impact, really, because everybody eats 3 times a day. It's no question about it. It's just the question is, what do you eat? The core of it is really plant-based and post-animal consumption because of the topics of impact I mentioned before, with resources, CO2 emissions, and so on. But we believe that we have to go a little bit further and find an ingredient update, as I mentioned in the last page. So not go with the tense Beyond Meat copycat and with soy as an ingredient, which is not in Beyond Meat, but in others, but really say, okay, we have to define new categories like egg, which is highly, at the moment, the most sought after category actually in food tech, and fish. So categories that are still in possible to find really the game changer there with a new technology and a new iconic brand, and go also to new updates and ingredients that come closer really to the animal sources, like precision fermentation and dairy, and then cell-based. So we've done also with Biomilk just an investment in that space, and this is where we believe the future lies. So you have to grow with the market. The second category is a home health personal care. We believe that you have to extend the whole topic of, I mean, the markets are always very dynamic, and I think food tech started 5-8 years ago, and then you see the logic how it works is something that you see in other consumer categories as well, around the home, around the personal care. It's also emerged with food and supplement nutrition, so it's going into the health direction. So we see a lot of opportunities because people also care about what do they put on their skin, what chemicals do they wash their clothes, do they use plastics and so on. It's a market that is not as early as food tech, kind of further ahead. But I think it's the right time to go into that because it will have the same transformation. And then thirdly, what we define as clean tech. Green tech is basically looking along the whole value chain until you come to the consumer good. What are really the big transformation cases that can really help to bring the consumer good and consumption to a more sustainable way? And I think we see that the whole packaging topic is huge. There needs to be a solution. We've seen some very interesting concepts that work with nanotechnology on coating, paper packaging, and so on. So there's a lot of things happening, but you even start really early in the value chain. So there are artificial intelligence startups working to replace animal testing directly in the beginning before it goes into, at the end, personal care brands. You have new ingredients on cell-based, replacing gelatin. And I think it's all as important at the end as the consumer good is the beginning and along the value chain to find concepts to really change the market. All our investments will hit one of the 17 UN goals, if not more. think for us, really, climate protection is at the center, going along again with post-animal consumption. Then the whole topic of resource conservation is extremely important. Health is very important, and then circular economy, direct trade, and animal welfare as well. But I think it's really resource conservation, climate protection, and health at the center. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manon. Wait a second. I have to check something. Now I have to close the presentation. So here we go again. Okay. Right. Thank you so much. We already have a question in the chat. I would immediately start with that one because I also have, of course, a lot of questions. But please, to the audience, just go ahead, put your questions in the chat. Let me start with Nicholas, and his question is: what is the problem with soy for humans? New studies have shown significant positive impacts on human health. Breast cancer risk reduction, for example, because of the rainforest. It is shown that over 95% of the soy is used for animal feeding. Not sure it is 95. I think it's a bit lower, but I don't know. So Manon, I think this is a question for you. Is there a problem with soy or not?
I mean, I think soy is a bit, I mean, it's a bit a belief system behind it. So I think on the one hand, you have the topic, a lot of soy is genetically modified, and exactly a lot of soy is used for animal feed, and that's why it's destroying the rainforest, because you use it at the end to feed the cattle and so on. I think from a health perspective, it's kind of disputed. I mean, I personally, I've been eating a lot of soy, but now less and less, because a lot of studies are now coming up saying, I mean, it can influence the hormone system. It depends of how much you consume of it. So I think that is really one point. But I also agree. I mean, I think in moderately, it's fine to consume it. But of course, it has some aspects to it which are difficult. I think you don't have the same topics if you use regional beans, as for example, we have it in the egg project. If you have algae, if you use some other ingredients. So I would always go, I'm not against soy completely, but there are some topics with it. So I welcome it when there are also some protein sources. Also, for example, hemp is a great full protein source. And if you not rely completely on the soy topic.
Thank you. Well, then I'll just go ahead with the questions, because for the moment there is no question. I was wondering your definition of green tech. Can you give an example for that? What would be an ideal portfolio company in this field? Because
what I just said. So what for us, it's all about at the end the way how we consume and how we consume sustainable. So our definition of green tech at the end is something, a new technology, a new innovation that brings the way how we consume at the end to a more on a more sustainable way. So what I mentioned, innovation in packaging, innovation in ingredients, with as I said, the moment we looked at some companies that were replacing gelatin from on a cellular level, replacing it with from jellyfish, cells from jellyfish. So, and then of course you have again the topic of post-animal consumption. So you're not using animal ingredients for it. So this is how we look at it, but I think everybody can define it differently. I mean, it's a huge category, but we only look at it from a consumer perspective.
Yes, that's why I was wondering if it, for instance, also contains like appliances in your household, which helps you, doing some saving energy or whatever. Is that also green tech? But as you said, the category is so broad that you need to exclude things in order to focus.
Yeah.
Okay. And speaking about, I mean, when did you launch the company? This is it's really new, so 1 or 2 months old, right?
I mean, we went out with fundraising in just about Easter, and we closed the first close just now. We're oversubscribed with that, but we intend to have a second close in Q1 next year.
Great, great.
Yeah.
Great news. It's great news for the food scene, I think. And can you help us? I mean, you're the case also of Weg. We'll come to Veronica in a couple of minutes, but for entrepreneurs who would like to reach out to you, you start at the seed stage, right? I mean,
me or Veronica?
No, sorry, Manon.
If we invested in, yeah, so basically, yeah, so this is a really early stage investment we did. This was like kind of even pre-seed, because it was really just about to be formed, the company, and looking. So I think for us, we invest pre-seed, seed, and also Series A. And the kind of approach is that I think, I mean, first of all, the market is quite overheated. So the valuations are extremely high. And for me, it doesn't make sense to go into seed companies that doesn't have revenue and wants to have, like, at the end, very highly 2-digit million amount of valuation. So that doesn't make sense at all. So I think what you have to do is to look really into new, really disruptive technologies, go a little bit earlier. And that's our approach within Europe, because that's our home turf, that we really look for new innovations in universities and what's happening on that space. And then going Series A, more in companies that have already proved that they are the ones that are defining the category and are really the disruptor in this category. So our just invested in Biomilk. It's a cell-based breast milk company. We invested in the US with very strong investors in that, and it's clear they are the pioneer. They have all the patents in it, and if this market is going to work, they are going to be number one in it.
Yeah, and so also for people who were in the morning already in the session with Weimar Ventures. So as I understood now, because Weimar is clearly sticking to Nordics and Baltics, and not per se looking at Germany or Austria or Netherlands, but your scope is really Europe and the US. So you're looking broader than that.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, the last 10 years, I was investing in the US and Europe, and for 5 years exclusively in the US, and then the last 5 years, it was half in Europe, half in the US. So these are also the markets where I have track record, where I have my network, where I know other, I mean, have really good co-investment opportunities, very good VCs in that space, and I just know the markets very well. So this is what we decided for, but of course, because you also mentioned other markets in Asia and so on. I mean, in Singapore, there's a huge revolution taking place at the moment in the cell-based, plant-based world, but it's just not our home turf. So I think for some companies, for Weg, for example, it makes absolutely sense to internationalize, but we will not directly invest into that market because we just don't know enough about it.
Yeah, and where are your deals then coming from? Is it your labs? I mean, now the case, this Veronica developed the Weg at Fraunhofer. I mean, is this a typical source where you get your deal flow from, or where is it from?
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, I've been now in the space for 15 years, kind of, and so, and especially in food tech, exclusive in the 5-6 years, and was one of the first people pioneering this plant-based topic. So I have very close network for a lot of, kind of people who define this market, from SDG Ventures, Nuclear Capital, so the big guys from the US, and are also personal advisors into our fund, and also a lot of angels investors in that scene. So I think it always depends, I mean, how much expertise you have yourself. And I think that just comes with experience and background, how much you know about the market and so on, and know about opportunities, so you can actively also create them, or you approach different research institutes and say, okay, this and this is happening. But it's also really how tightly knit your network is, and if you know the investors in that field, and you get a lot of exchange with them and a lot of new deals through that. And what I see at the moment is, as I said, it's a lot of things happening actually in Europe, in universities, in food tech. I mean, you have Wageningen, but we have now Fraunhofer, we have Max Planck, also ETH Zurich. There's a lot of very interesting things, and I think also what you had in the US all the time, that you have the possibilities of spin outs to the market. I think it's something that's developing more and more in Europe, and this is something we have a good network with universities, and and focus also on that.
Okay. So, but I imagine you don't get every day a new potential investment concept into your mailbox where you immediately think, oh wow, no. So it really asks for you. I mean, it's really necessary to have this network and get the deal flow through that. Is that also like how Veronica with her back? How did you meet? I mean, this is, I think, also for the community interesting.
Yeah.
How did you learn about the back?
So basically, I heard from another person about several projects that are happening in Fraunhofer Institute. And I heard through this person also about the egg topic, and then I was immediately super excited because, I mean, having been in the space now quite a while, I knew that the egg category is at the moment the most interesting category, because you don't have, like in fish and meat, different forms of fish, different forms of meat that are contesting against it, and also it's not that you have already one brand that is defining it. And in egg, you really just have one product, and the products that are on the market at the moment are just liquid-based and powder-based. So there's nothing around that is really having the taste and the functionality and the structure and also from the look and feel at the end, it's something similar to an egg. So it was, for me, when I heard about it, they're working on it, was clear that is, if that works and comes to the market, it's a huge opportunity and has really the potential to become a unicorn in that space. So, and then I contacted directly with Veronica, and we got together. So that was beginning. So, and then the magic happened. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Well, then let's get directly to the magic product. Veronica, I think we are all curious to hear, to see your the egg. Let me just check. There's a question in the chat. Perhaps you just do that question before you present. Yes. Are there informations or studies available how willing consumers are to buy lab tech food compared to sustainable bio-grown food? Are they open to try sustainable but lab-created food? The question is, how sustainable is classical organic food? I mean, the organic egg versus the lab egg. But are there studies on that? I mean, there can't be really much studies because it's a field that is developing now. I mean, if you mean cellular, if you mean plant-based, I mean, you see already the consumer is accepting that. I think everything kind of plant-based, natural, and because at the end it comes down to natural ingredients, but it's already food tech. I mean, if you look at Beyond Meat, there's a lot of technology behind it, and the way how it's extruding it, how it's textured, wise it, so that's why it's called food tech, and there's a lot of acceptance for that. So when it comes to at the end to lab-grown meat, we don't know. But also I have to say personally, because I'm vegetarian, I'm not quite sure if I would eat it, because I think it's, for me, from the taste, and think too much like meat. But I mean, I know from a lot of people who say their plant-based is okay, but they are waiting actually for cell-based taking place, because then it's exactly the same like a chicken, exactly the same like another meat product, because you have meat cells in it. And it's just, I think, psychologically that you think, okay, how it was produced. I would say generally Europe is always more hesitant with these topics. I mean, you see it from regulations, but also we have a different tradition and culture and with food. And then the US is much more functional. So I would not see that's a huge topic. In Asia is also, I mean, the regulations also already opened up. So there's first fish companies, Turkey already launched. So yeah, and the thing is, it will happen because we don't have enough resources. It will be either you eat animals, kind of alternative proteins from plants, or it will be cell-based. And I think if this is the decision, and not if we eat animal or cell-based animal, I think a lot of people will eat it.
Yeah, and there's also, let me add that, I think this is also interesting. What you can observe, what helps a lot in culture is if there is openness to technology. And for instance, you can see this, you could see this in the session from this morning, where we had Finland, and Solar Foods is one of their companies where they invested on. Solar Foods is really such an interesting and successful company, but they already, you know, of course, they were the first. I mean, the whole world had no mobile phone, but the Finns already had it. So
yeah.
So I think this helps in general to have that. I'm based in the Netherlands. That's again a different attitude, as I know it's Germany, and I think in Austria it's again different. So I think the cultural aspect is important to take into account if you look at your product as an entrepreneur. Well, I hope, Christian, this was an answer to your question, because then I would like to go over to Veronica and finally see the egg.
Yes, let me share then the presentation. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Great. So thank you for the first introduction at the beginning and for the interesting questions now. Yeah, so now I will present you already our product and why it was important for us, or for me, to work in the egg at the beginning of this project, because right now egg represents 100 to 200 billion USD. So there's a lot of market in the egg section. There's also, just in Germany, there's a consumption of 230 eggs per person per year. So that means like 20 billion eggs. It's a huge amount of eggs, right? And even though right now the population, there's just 5% of the population is vegan, plant-based foods are increasing, right? And I think this we know because of what Manon mentioned, because of the from the health aspects, from the climate change that is happening, and the plant-based food are increasing. So just it was 1 billion USD in last year, but it's expected to continue to increase in the next years. And also, I think right now people are more ready to try new plant-based food, not only the vegan people, but also maybe vegetarians or flexitarians, or people that are just trying to reduce their meat consumption. Maybe they won't never go vegan, but at least they want to help to do something about it. So I think to have these approaches or these different products gives the consumer more opportunities to try in the food market. And then, so like Manon mentioned, we have already a lot of in the plant-based, all the meat alternatives. There's some fish from chicken, but from egg, there's, at least here in Europe, there hasn't been a really big product that is coming. We have one in US or two, but there's still not as big here. And then and there is a little complicated because you have different products, and the normal egg, you have so much functionality in it. So you can eat it like a scramble, like a sunny side up, like a boiled egg, but you can also use it as an ingredient for cakes, for some sauces and mayonnaise, for example, in biting agent, like when you use it, like I said, for cakes, or So from creme brulees, or just to make it a nice browning in the top of a food that you make. And this is what makes it the most challenging to create a plant-based egg, because, for example, some products target some of these ones, but it's hard to target all of them at the same time. In this case, because we're looking for plant-based ingredients, so we need to find the right ingredients. We need to keep it as simple as possible, because, you know, like the consumers right now, when they see huge ingredient list, they already think it's too processed, or it should not be healthy if it is like that. So we always need to keep it as simple as possible. Also, that it makes it functional. So the best would be that we can do exactly the same with a plant-based egg that with a normal egg. Also important to make it tasty, because if not, doesn't matter how functional it is. If it's not tasty, the consumer won't eat it. And of course, to make it look similar, and then this creates then the whole experience for the consumer. And yeah, so, and now, for example, we have already some products in the market, and we have like the powder products. Most of the products, these ones are focused in baking applications, and some of them are starting to be focused in scrambled eggs or omelets. There's some that are liquid, also for baking, and there's just a small section of the products right now that are for full egg. They mentioned there's a full egg, but they don't have like the complete category, and then I will come to that later. And that's why we create our company, because I developed a product that will target all of these functionalities from the egg, and we will be around this, so in the small section of the competition. So who are we right now? So the company is called Folgt right now. We are Patrick, the co-founder and CEO, and me, working as a CTO. And then together, we just started the company 2 months ago, and we have been trying to accelerate this as soon as possible to bring it to the market. And this is, for example, our main goals for our product is that it's the most versatile liquid plant-based egg replacement that there is, so that we can use it as you would normally use any egg. We also have ingredients that are allowed for the European institution, but also for the US. And we don't have any preservatives. We are avoiding any types of allergen ingredients. We don't have cholesterol, and we are using non-GMO. We're also trying to use all the ingredients from local sources. In this case, we are trying to use from Germany, or at least from Europe, ingredients, so we can stay inside all these points for making as sustainable as possible. Then we also compare, like I said, we have a short list of competitors right now with our product, because we are just trying to compete with these liquid egg replacements. And we have that, let me see, this is our company, and these are some of our competitors. And you can see you can use it for baking, for dressings. You can use it as an omelette or quiche, as a scrambled egg. You can use it as a sunny side up. And we have it as a separately component. So this is really interesting, because none of the other companies can do that. So we have really an egg yolk and egg white that you can have it together and place it together in the pan, or mix it as a whistle, and then use it as a scrambled egg, or however you would use your egg. So this is how our product is right now. I will show you a little video, hopefully it works. Yeah, you see, right?
Yes.
Good. Yeah, so we put it as a pan, so in a pan, and then it cooks exactly like it would fried egg, for example. If you leave it a little bit longer, then the edges start getting a little bit browny and crispy like a normal egg would do. We have also the scrambled egg. We can do like I have tried to make already muffins and cakes, and I did some mayo also. And yeah, we're really excited, and we can't wait to bring it to the market. Yeah.
Thank you. And when is that coming soon?
So we hope that in the middle of next year, at least for the consumer, so in the retailers.
Okay. So now I'm curious. I mean, can you close the presentation?
Yes.
Excellent, because now I can see you much better, and I also can see potential questions. Well, you showed us now all the forms of the egg, but how will I see it packaged at the supermarket? In which form do I?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting thing. We're working also in I don't especially, but the Fraunhofer, they're also working in packaging that is will have the shape of an egg. So our product will really come the egg yolk and the egg white together in an egg shape packaging, that it will be done with biodegradable material that you can just throw them in the bio trash. And yeah, so that's how we expect that the consumer will get it.
So just to get this straight, so I will buy something which looks like an egg, and if I open it, then it also has the whole texture like an egg. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why we planning that since the beginning, to bring the complete experience for the consumer, right? Because a lot of products right now, the powders come, of course, in paper or in this packaging, and the liquid ones comes in plastic bottles. And we just wanted to make it as sustainable as possible and as easy and relatable to the consumer as possible.
So do I understand this correctly, that this is sort of an egg project at Fraunhofer? I mean, it's a whole project and you're part of that, or what is the? Yeah,
so because the Fraunhofer works in a lot of different projects. And then when I was doing my PhD, there was an opportunity to work in there was a project of egg replacements, and then I decided to take this one as the liquid egg replacement, because there was another one with powders, but I took this one, and this is how I started. So I've been working on it for 2.5 years. Yeah, more than 2.5 years already. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're quite dedicated to the egg.
Yeah.
you now eat more. I'm curious, like, because you're originally a scientist, and this is also what you will do at VEC. Sorry, not egg. But I'm curious, like, because this morning we had the co-founder of Sulapak. She's also a scientist, and she stays in her lab in a way, yeah, at Sulapak, which is all about packaging, biodegradable packaging. How do you experience this transition from a scientist to an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, I'm still doing a lot of the trials and research by myself, because right now we are just Patrick and me. But it has been really interesting to get to have this business meeting with people, like talking with Manon and see how this investing and this funding works. And yeah, it has been really a good experience. I mean, it hasn't been that long. It's just like 2 or 3 months that I've been into full time into the company. But yeah, until now it has been really interesting.
But still, I mean, you already passed pre-seed, so I think this is already great. So I have a question in the chat. What is the price comparison between your product and regular eggs or your competitors?
Yeah, so I was trying to stay as low as an ingredients as possible to make it as simple as possible. And right now we are around like the price of a bio egg. So we want to keep this price so it makes it more so that the consumer can easily buy it, no? That the price won't be a challenge for anyone.
And can you tell us something about, thanks Herman, I think this is an answer to your question. But can you, or is this top secret? Tell us a little bit more, I mean, what's in it? I mean, you said, well, it's all ingredients Germany. I mean, can I grow it in my garden? Or, I mean, of course, I don't have the lab, but.
Yeah, I cannot mention all the ingredients that we have, but I can tell you, I did my PhD in pea proteins. So for sure, there's pea proteins inside. I love pea proteins. So this is one of my main ingredients there.
All right.
But yeah, so the ingredients are right now, I think we have the shortest list comparing to any other competitor outside.
Okay. Okay. Well, then I would like to look back also a bit to Manon and tell me how do you, I mean, now we have an excellent proof of concept with Veronica and Weg, but how do you scan an opportunity? I mean, it's not a classical due diligence. You also scan, of course, for other factors. Huh? I mean, impact, all that. Perhaps even you scan. Do you do gender smart investing? What I learned yesterday as a term exists. I did not know that. So in this case, this is gender term investing because we have also a female co-founder. But what is the way you scan an opportunity? Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I think for me, the most important thing is that really, I mean, I look kind of very much into different categories. I mean, I always, as I said now, and I only want to do one investment in one category. And I really, into the company where I think that has the potential to really, I mean, disrupt is a little bit, I mean, you always use it and then everybody said disrupt it. But where I really think this is so innovative and has such a strong IP somehow behind it and is an experience and the solution it's offering so unique that I believe this can really, first of all, rise to be a unicorn, but also in an impact topic, really have such a great impact that it changes the world somehow to the better. So, but not in a gradual way, but in a very significant way. So it can solve 1% of over a climate crisis or something like that. So, and I think when we look at the investments we've done, it's in all of them, would make it tick. And for example, in the egg, I mean, as Veronica said, it's a multi-billion market. There is everything on the market is only liquid and powder. There is no whole egg solution in it. And also to the question with price point, I mean, at the moment, it's very competitive in the pricing. So eggs, you can go up to 80 cents when it's a Bruderhahn egg, and it can go down to 20 cents when you have it at a discounter. And at the moment, we have like 55 cents, which is at the end, the retail price. So how you buy it as a consumer and still has a good margin for the retail and still has a margin in the business. So it's also from a business case, it makes sense. But if you succeed in the overall egg market just to gain a 5 to 10% or even 1% market share with this egg, it has such a big impact that it really changes things. So I think that's going for looking at different categories and then saying, okay, this is the one where we think it is or has the most chances at the moment to be the definer of the category. And then, of course, IP and patent is important, and the innovative aspect. Then, of course, always team is extremely important. If not the most important thing at the end, if you think they can scale it. And then I think the impact topic, that it's not a gradual change, but a significant change to impact, and then really how big is the market as well. I mean, is it something, because there's some really nice and interesting solutions, but at the end it's such a niche market that I mean, it's even if you convert some people then to use this product, it will not change anything really. And in the egg is something, I mean, it's a huge market, and you can make a huge difference here.
Yeah. Okay. And so basically, you are looking at sort of an exponential potential, really disrupt the market, just because it is just in category itself with this impact. Okay. And now, because now look, I'm interested also in this team issue, what you just mentioned, because at the end you said this is perhaps even the most important. I mean, how this, I mean, looking at the blend now from, I don't know what the ambition is, but perhaps you, Veronica, you would like to tell something about the ambition, because now you are 2 people. So perhaps you tell us what your plans are. What is your ambition with that?
Yeah, of course, we want to go as fast as possible. So we're trying to attract more talent. I already get my first food scientist starting in December, so we can make some tests. We are looking into partners so we can do the pilot test and the scale up as soon as possible. Yeah, and our idea is like to bring it as it is right now to the market, at least to start giving it to maybe to chef or to the service, so we can get some feedback to see what is the impression. We went already to a really famous chef in Berlin, and then he loved it. So we were really happy with it. He wanted, also with his feedback, he wanted already to have the product. And yeah, so I think now as long as we could scale up already, I think we can continue to grow and then bring more people, and maybe of course you can always improve the product, so we will keep it in improving it with the time.
Yeah, I can imagine. So in terms of branding, that's, I think that's smart move, already having a chef who wants to work with it, and I mean it's sort of approving it in a way.
Yeah.
But in terms of branding, it is really selling the egg experience as a whole concept. And even if the packaging is not ready, you start. Or is the packaging then in place? Because
yeah, we are talking to some sustainable packaging companies. Then maybe we could start with another type of packaging, but having the same concept. Yeah. To have these like maybe some round like it would be like a yogurt cup, but more rounded, but still we are always taking into consideration the sustainability of our product.
Yeah. I can imagine that is also challenging, right? I mean, food packaging is challenging. It's a lot of standards to be met.
Yeah, we have a really experienced doctor in packaging, so hopefully we will get him on board soon, and then we'll do it as fast as we can.
Speaking about the team, all right, okay. Yeah. Great. Hey, since we're about to finish the session already, time went really fast. Manon, because this morning we also spoke about tech investments, deep tech investments, and where this is also about heavy stuff. You need production facilities. How is that different to invest in such a company as Veronica intends to build it, to do like really having a garage where someone is creating an app? I mean, that's a totally different business.
I mean, this is what I mean. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is what I mean. I did before I went into food tech. I did I did digital investments, tech investments, and that's something you can scale extremely quickly. So when that form, the business case is completely different. So the moment you go into food tech, you have real goods that you need to produce. If it becomes really into absolutely new ingredients, there's also research component behind it. You have a lab, and then you need to production facility, you need to scale it, and so on. So I think that the growth is not as quick, but once you have it, I think it's much more solid and stable than a tech company, because usually with tech, it's also something that you can scale up very quickly, and also customer acquisition and SEO and so on. But the question is, okay, how loyal is really your customer, and how valuable is the core of the company? And I've seen a lot of tech companies also fail very quickly, rise quickly and fail quickly. And I think in food you have, once you are there, it is quite stable. And also, I mean, what I like about it, it's a real solution to a problem. I mean, it's something, and it's very haptic. You can feel it, you can taste it, and so on. So I like it, but I know a lot of investors also kind of reluctant. I think not anymore after they've seen the Beyond Meat and Oatly valuations. So they all come in now, but at the beginning, I mean, it's a different game. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what's really also interesting point is what you can hear now, but also in other sessions, is it takes more than the product itself. It really takes the design of an ecosystem around it. You're not talking about packaging. The whole branding is much more than a product.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Basically, you're talking about impact brands. And this you could even see with Sulapak this morning. They are constructing, now they are trying to prove that take-back systems can work to make sure that the biodegradable positive effect has this positive effect. Because which basically fall back in terms of recycling infrastructure in Europe, etc., etc. So also there you can see that you also design a service system around the product, which also includes the packaging. And I think it's an interesting takeaway for entrepreneurs that just think one step further. It's not just a product; it's the whole service experience around it. And as you can see in all the cases we had, also even yesterday, the sustainable neobank, it's the same. So it's all about also service and experience design.
The experience, as exactly what Vero said, I mean, at the end, the experience, and also what the one comment was about, I mean, you have to hit the taste and the price. If you fail at one of both of them, you're basically kind of out, because then you will not be able to scale. And then also you have to really build a very strong brand around it. So, I mean, Oatly at the end of the day is only a brand game. I think now the market is getting more and more dynamic. So I think you have to have also an ingredient update or something new, because the good brands have already kind of taken. But you have, at the end, you have to have an extremely strong brand to be able to really scale and have customer loyalty and have persistence in the market, and have the possibility to become a unicorn or something. I think if this brand is not strong in the consumer industry, you have a problem.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Veronica, I would like to finish with a question to you, an outlook. What's your ambition? What's your vision on the brand in 5 years? Where do you want to stand with it?
Yeah, so we would like to be, of course, the biggest egg replacement there. So at least to be one of the most known in the market, right? And to be at least the best one in flavor and in functionality. I think this is what we have already. We just, like Manon said, we need to make our branding, and then to make us known. We're working in the website already. So as soon as we started the beta, but in 5 years, I think we won't limit ourselves just to have just the egg, as it is, but maybe we could go as an ingredient for other for bigger markets, to work with bigger food production companies, and then they can also bring it into the products, maybe do some co-branding. Yeah, so this is just a few ideas that we would like to do in 5 years. But I think the most interesting we will see in the next year, and then we will go from that.
Excellent. So we will see the egg in which form. I mean, perhaps an ingredient brand, whatever. But I think this is for sure not the end of the story. Thank you so much, both, for joining, being with us, and sharing this exciting story. All the best. I mean, you're basically both entrepreneurs, so all the best for the next adventures and ventures. Thank you, everyone, also in the chat. Thank you for the questions. Before I finish, I would like to share also with the audience. In half an hour, we start with the last session from the international track, which is all about fashion tech. And we will talk about on circular business models in the fashion industry with 2 Swedish entrepreneurs. Thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend. Thank you, Manon.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.